Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Everyday Wellness with Nurse Bev. I'm really excited for you to join us today for our segment on community wellness voices. So today's our conversation is going to explore how movement and fitness can become a source of healing, resilience, and confidence, especially for people who felt very disconnected from their bodies due to illness, pain, just general intimidation or self-doubt. We're going to be meeting Bryan today. My guest, Bryan Whynot, is a NASM certified personal trainer with a bachelor's degree in nutrition, health, and wellness, along with more than a decade of experience in the fitness industry. Over the past 12 years, he's held a wide range of roles, including serving as director of multiple 100,000 square foot fitness facilities, leading strength and conditioning programs for more than 500 youth baseball players, providing online nutrition coaching and modeling for and representing multi-million-dollar fitness and lifestyle brands. Today, he owns his own company, The Whynot Lifestyle, while also working with others to train and coach people ranging in age from 13 to 91, helping them become the strongest version of themselves. Bryan's connection to fitness began at a very young age after being diagnosed with ulcerative colitis and rheumatoid arthritis at 9 years old. Through his own health challenges and personal experiences, he came to see fitness as a vital tool in both healing and resilience, and it is something he feels very fortunate to share with others every single day. Welcome, Bryan.
Thank you so much for having me, Bev.
So, Bryan, I'd love for you to just share with us a little bit about your story and your journey from childhood, being diagnosed with ulcerative colitis and rheumatoid arthritis, and how that really shaped your experience and your relationship with your body early on.
Yeah. So for myself, I was diagnosed, as you said, around 9. And for the first about 6 years until I hit about 15 to 16, from a combination of own lifestyle and also medications, I was a little bit of the overweight kid and felt very just not comfortable in my shoes for a lot of different reasons, between the medications, dealing with my diseases, but also just growing up in the ages of 9 to 14 is a weird time for puberty and a bunch of other reasons like that. And it really took up until I was 15 to kind of go through my first hospitalization really with the disease, where I stayed multiple nights and multiple days in the hospital. That led me to lose just under 100 pounds during that stay. And after that, I've kind of always during that time, I always looked up to more fit individuals growing up, like in sports and different things like that. So around that time, I kind of got the little voice in my mind saying, here's your time to kind of see what you can do a little bit. And then it just kind of rabbit holed from there. And here we are today.
Thank you for sharing that background and that context of really what brought you into what really seems like kind of like your life's passion and your life's work. So, at what point did you actually bring that fitness piece to the table for you? Did that look like something you brought in as soon as you were well enough in your teens? And were you doing it? Were you in the gym? What did that sort of first step look like?
So the first step for me was one, kind of getting out of the hospital a little bit into remission with ulcerative colitis and other IBD diseases. There is no set cure for it. So it's kind of finding your own way with it a little bit, whether through doctors as well, but your own personal wellness. So growing up in a little bit of a sports household a little bit, when I got out of the hospital, my friends, peers, and also my physicians were like, it's good for you to start being active, looking into the gym, looking at what you eat and different things like that. So my parents got me a gym membership when I was 15 to Anytime Fitness. Essentially, the deal was I go with them and kind of just learn my way. And within the first 6 months, I really fell in love with it. I started to gain confidence, really kind of started to feel like, oh, wow, I actually feel good. Like growing up in sports, I always did them, but I never felt good doing them. It was always just like, this is what I do a little bit. But the gym and fitness really gave me that aha moment, like, oh, this is what confidence feels like. This is what they talk about and all that. And then I just kind of ran with it.
I love that. And at what point in that journey did you decide you actually wanted to become a certified personal trainer?
Pretty young, actually. I would say between the ages of 15 to 17, I was in the world of YouTube and social media and stuff, and I kind of gravitated towards these fitness professionals who were trainers helping people. And it kind of clicked in me at a young age that like, this is what I want to do for my life. And I just want to share this feeling that I'm getting from this, because I knew it just kind of came naturally that this was going to be something that benefited me so much, but something that I could also share with others as well.
Yeah. And I know part of your journey, and you and I have kind of talked about this too, has been your volunteer work that you've done for the IBD community, irritable bowel disease, for people that don't know that acronym. So I'd love for you to share a little bit about your work in that community space, and how that sort of like has like informed like how you coach people and how you support people in that community.
So thankfully with the disease, that's sometimes a hard word to say, but you do kind of have to find the thankfulness and different things like that in this, that I had and still have very good professionals as far as my doctors and things. But I do give a lot of credit to my pediatric gastroenterologist for kind of gently pushing me into kind of getting out of the box, because I was the only kid in my group, in my town to me, that had what I had. So I always felt like the one kid and always felt alone. So around that time where I found fitness around 16, at UMass Memorial, there was a mother who was setting up a support group for the sole purpose for her daughter to meet other people with IBD, and also was a patient of my doctor as well. So my doctor was like, hey, there's a support group coming. Like, I think it'd be really valuable for you to go to it, to meet other kids and do different things like that. And I took it as any other 16-year-old boy and be like, oh, I don't need that. That sounds lame. But through some persuasion between him and my mother, that I said, yeah, I'll go to it. Like, what's the worst that can happen? And I walked in and essentially sat down. It was just her and her daughter. No one else really showed up that night. And we just talked, and one of the first times through that conversation, I kind of didn't really feel alone in that time, that like someone around my age was going through, if not arguably worse, but the same type of stuff that I was. Yeah. And it kind of spiraled from there. And now is a full-blown foundation called IBD Connect. We do multiple different things for youths and families who have IBD. From I've hosted 5K runs to kind of show that side of things, doing fundraising football stuff, trivia nights, different things, and really showing kids who are unfortunately even diagnosed younger than me that kind of giving yourself a chance really gives you so much more out of this situation.
I love that so much. And we'll be sure to include that information in that organization, like in the show notes, so people can access that for support. So loved hearing about your background and what brought this to this work and everything that you're doing. So I'd love to spend a moment and talk a little bit about the intimidation that comes with walking into a gym, right? So this is really a big one. I hear this as a nurse often when I talk to people and recommend, physical activity to them, and they feel very intimidated, maybe from doing anything outside of their home, scared to walk into a gym, or maybe they're only comfortable on certain types of equipment. So there's a lot that it takes for a person to actually walk into a gym, sometimes for the first time, as we said, after maybe injury, illness. So I'd love to just spend a little bit of time is, what do you look for and what do you try to cultivate for like a welcoming environment in a gym space?
No, that's a fantastic question, Bev, because unfortunately, as you just mentioned, it is something that's unbelievably common. And even through all my years of multiple different facilities, as big as like a Planet Fitness, whereas small as just small private studios and stuff, it's really important for the trainer, if not the people who own the facility, to kind of make that first impression being the most welcoming that you can, being calm, being present, and kind of putting that person first and really making them feel like you want them to come into fitness, because that's ultimately all of our goals. It should be to get everyone on the right track and getting in that, in their own groove, if you will. So I think that the first thing is always to kind of welcoming, very happy, very positive, and kind of giving them the notion that even if it is maybe their first day, that doesn't matter, because they're gonna not leave feeling that way a little bit.
Yeah, I love that so much. And I mean, I've experienced that firsthand with you, because Bryan is my trainer at MidStrong here in Westboro. And I've always seen that in you, like even from the first time I met you, very welcoming everyone into the room. And I think also like teeing in and meeting people where they're at and, you know, helping them make those modifications, and that like everybody's welcome, kind of at different physical abilities, recovering from injury, and not just making people feel like they're kind of falling behind or they're not maybe doing as much as the next person. So I feel like you do that brilliantly. I feel like in the spaces I've seen that. And that really means a lot to me too, because, you know, as a nurse, I feel like someone feeling supported, right, is like 100% like the best thing that we can do for someone, to help them like make that change and move forward. So I love that, you know, from what I see in the clinical settings, and then obviously what we see show up in the gym too, because otherwise if you walk in somewhere and you don't feel welcome and you feel like maybe that you can't do something, you're not going to come back. And we see people, you know, kind of have that relationship with the gym often. You know, I was like one of those people. Like, well,
it's kind of like a thing that's almost everywhere. Like no one likes to feel dismissed, whether it's work, a professional setting, like whatever it is. It's so important not to make someone feel that in the gym, because that is going to deter their ambition to better themselves almost immediately. And that's how we would view any kind of deterrence for whatever reason. So just kind of just keeping that energy is really good.
Yeah. And I love, and I've heard you've shared this with me, that you have a phrase you like to use of having people become the strongest version of themselves. So what do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is essentially fitness is such a broad, and health is such a broad term. And sometimes you can get caught up in for example, trying to look like your favorite athlete, someone else in your peer group, XYZ. You get into this mode where you expect yourself to be XYZ, which is great to motivate yourself. But I think it's really valuable to try to look at that phrase and be like, okay, I want this for myself, but what can I personally do to get there? Like myself, as much as sometimes I would love to be different sometimes in my setting of a trainer, I have to bring myself back sometimes and relate to myself, to my story a little bit, but also just kind of what I need to do to serve a purpose in society. Like you were saying, like for me to show up for the classes that you and so many other people take, as much as I'd love to, I don't know, add 5 pounds of muscle, I can't work out that much to deter myself and then take away from the other aspects of my life to achieve that goal, where there's so many other things that make me in my own strength, that I think that it's really good to just look at that of really the individual.
Yeah, I love that. I'd love for you to chat on to, like, how do you help someone rebuild trust in their body? And like, this is what's super personal for me, from my background. Like, I feel like, you know, as a teenager in like the 90s was like the gym, you know, the cardio bunny. It was like, eat the least amount you can and burn the most calories, treadmills, Stairmasters. Like, I never picked up a weight. I did sports and stuff like that. But even in sports at that time, like the guys went to the weight room, but girls, athletes did not, at least where I was. So I came to weightlifting. I was 40 the first time I picked up a weight, and it was actually coming off of like chronic injury and illness and having lost complete trust in my body, afraid to lift anything because I was just afraid of exacerbating pain. And I was getting mixed signals where people were like, you should rest and do nothing. And other people like, no, you should go to the gym, and having to find that sort of median. And then I remember even starting at the gym, I didn't trust myself. I didn't trust my body. I trusted my coaches, which was really instrumental at the time, that like somebody was actually looking at me. They could see if I was doing anything that was like dysfunctional or that could be harmful. But how do you talk people through that and coach that? Because I feel like that is sometimes that biggest hurdle coming off of an injury, illness, is we lose trust and faith in our body.
No, and that makes perfect sense, and something I've unfortunately felt in myself too. So my biggest thing, or what I try to do, is show people that what they can do. So like, kind of like you mentioned that you had a sports background, or someone who doesn't necessarily look at a gym until say they're 40 or whatever age it is, or really any other age, but like 15 or like a child or whatever. Yeah. It's to kind of relate them, be like, well, what did you do when you were like, I'm 28. So sometimes I'm like, all right, well, what were you doing when you were my age? Were you dancing? Were you someone who liked to hike? Were you like, what were you doing? And usually from that answer, I can kind of 99% of the time think of a movement that they are able to do and kind of get there like, oh, I can do this. It's like, oh, I can take dumbbells and stick them over my head. I can take dumbbells and squat with them. Like showing people that you can do this, and it may not be the most fastest, strongest, whatever elite thing it is, and that's fine and not necessary at all. But really giving them like, these are the things that you can already do. You just need to show yourself that you can do it, and then then we just build from there.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, we say that a lot with any healthy habit. And sometimes too, when we're trying to do all the things and we're like, can we pick the one thing and do it and feel comfortable in it and do it consistently to then move on and build on the next thing. And so I think of that a lot when it comes to strength training. Someone might walk in and be like, I can only do this amount of weight, or I can only do this movement. And then like 3 months later, the doors have opened and now they're ready for something else that they didn't necessarily thought they were any but capable of like 3 months ago. That's what I love about strength training, because it's so measurable. Like you really can, not only in the amount of weights that you're going up, but I think how like strong and balanced you can feel in something that maybe you didn't feel so good in 3 months ago. So it's such like wonderful measurable progress. It's one of the things like I think is so cool about strength training. So I'd love to pivot a little bit into kind of addressing for the listener, somebody who might be feeling like overwhelmed or maybe embarrassed and not sure where to begin. What would you like them to hear in this message?
It sounds simple, but just try. Like just try. Google gyms near you or whatever. Maybe it's not even a gym. Maybe it's rock climbing. Maybe it's bicycle riding. Maybe it's anything that can kind of give you a hobby that's maybe active. It doesn't necessarily have to be in a gym. Obviously, we seem to like the gym and we will always promote that. But I'm also an avid snowboarder and different things like that. It would really just to try it. And then worst comes to worst, say if someone came into mid-strong, for example, and they didn't really like, say, the experience I gave them or the energy I gave them, or maybe just how the class is set up. That's valuable information for you to go to the next thing and try it. Maybe the first thing was a home run and you enjoyed it and great. But really taking the time for yourself to find that for yourself is so instrumental. And it will just help you clear your mind a little bit. Like, okay, that's not for me. Maybe this is for me. And really kind of taking it all as different learning experiences. And it's okay if you don't like it or maybe can't do it. And that's okay. There's so many other options out there for everyone.
Yeah, as you were saying, that just had me really think about different structure of environments. So somebody like figuring out what works well for you and feels best and trying something different. I think of the difference between, joining a gym where you just can pop in and show up whenever you want, for something more structured where you actually sign up for like classes and you have, a scheduled time. That can be a huge difference for people. I was one of them, right? If you're like, okay, go to the gym, but it's like, well, when am I going to go to the gym? Am I going to fit it in around X, Y, Z? It always got pushed to the bottom versus actually having that scheduled time where you can show up. So I always like to share that with people too, when they say like, I just can't get to the gym. It's like you said, there's so many other different things that you can do, whether it is strength training or it is a cycling class, or if it is a rock climbing class, whatever it is. I think there's something about actually scheduling it that is really powerful from a human behavior standpoint. And also would love for you to kind of touch on, because sure I find fitness communities very supportive and like a fun group to be part of. Can you speak to that a little bit and maybe what you see sort of in people's like success, not only from maybe their gains in strength training, but how they get their confidence back, how maybe they want to like show up to actually like talk to the people they like working out with. What do you see?
I couldn't agree more as far as community, and I'm very blessed that our gym in Westboro, Midstrong, has a fantastic community that's unbelievably supported. But I know that that's not the only one that I've been in, but also not the only one out there as well. The group classes are really amazing because you do get to, kind of like I did for my support group, you get to see people that are you, for lack of a better term, and you can kind of develop relationships and not really think of it as like you're on your own in this journey. Like there's going to be people who you see that care about you as friends. And then of course, finding a trainer that you vibe with and all that kind of good stuff. But a community that in a gym that supports its members is so beneficial because it's just like another friend group to you essentially. And it also gives you more drive to show up for yourself, because if you're meeting your workout partner or like these newfound friends, you feel slightly more accountable to go do it, but it also makes it more fun. Because sometimes when you're just showing up to the gym for yourself, it's kind of, you find yourself going through the motions, or it's really hard to self-motivate. But finding and achieving a good community can really give you that little extra push to kind of keep going. And then also just kind of taking fitness outside. I know myself and a lot of other people that I've worked with over the years get real life friends out of it. Like they'll go to dinners after with their workout partners and different things like that, and vacations, and you get to find a community that supports you trying to better yourself. And that is a whole other beautiful thing in itself.
Yeah, it takes it to a whole nother level, I feel like, from the
does.
fitness aspect. What would you recommend if somebody was sort of interested in maybe, actually seeking out formal instruction, like in a gym across whatever modality? What are some good questions to ask the coach or whoever that could help you find like, this is a good match for me? Is it partly on like qualifications, like, their experience with working with someone, say with like a hip injury or a knee replacement? What are some like key questions, like interview type questions, so someone could really feel like they're making an informed choice?
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic question. One, the trainer should be able to answer all of that. If they can't, it's probably not the best facility for you. But besides that, kind of asking them what kind of members they see and what kind of members that they have, because the trainer should also know within pretty good reason who they're working out with, especially in a class setting, and who like a large amount about their members. So kind of finding out what those people maybe do within reason. Like for example, if I were to say like, oh, I work out with mostly 40-year-old moms. And if that demographic doesn't jive with you for whatever reason, maybe start to go into that, or even just kind of seeing if if you're someone who has an injury or has an illness, mentioning that and seeing how they might react, or being like, oh, I've worked with people with XYZ. We don't have many people with that here. You could also look around I know a lot of people see gym equipment and have no idea what they're looking at, which is completely fine and completely that. But you could also gauge a lot of what's going to happen with kind of what you see, the atmosphere, maybe the writing on the walls, the colors of the gym, like kind of like you walk into the gym, if you can kind of see what you look around, if you maybe like it, dislike it, that's also a big thing. Like my example in my mind would be performance gyms compared to like wellness gyms. Like not everyone's going to go to the heavy powerlifter gym, but there's great use in that and great people for that. Other people will find a smaller wellness type of gym more suitable. It's really just kind of taking the feedback that you get a little bit from the trainer and also the room you see.
I love that. That's really great advice. And this is something I wanted to ask you for sure, because it's, I think, really important for people to help them, like, what is that next step? And so I talk about the person that feels like they've always tried and fail. So the person that maybe has a gym membership but never goes, or they go like full out. They're like, I have to go to the gym, 7 days a week for an hour. And then of course they do that for a couple of weeks, and then life gets in the way, and then months go by, sometimes even years for people. This is like from a human behavior standpoint, this is super, super common.
Yep.
And what I find over time with people, then they just feel they're like, I'm not a gym person, or I'm just not really a physically active person. And they struggle to figure out kind of like what their entry point is, because they have sort of this whole past of where they haven't been successful. I talk to people a lot about this when it comes to even eating habits, right? When people are on and off diets, quote unquote. So what is some good advice for someone who is coming at that mindset already, almost feeling like they're set up to fail before they've even started?
No, that is a very, very great question. And unfortunately, a very popular thing in the industry and just as humans in general. I would kind of going off a little bit of the trying different things a little bit is a really good aspect of it. But I also think that not giving up on yourself in the sense of there is so much out there for people, education wise, via online, people, like there's so much out there for people to expose themselves to, whether that's knowledge or actual patterns of movement, that I think that even if you feel a little discouraged in one way, maybe taking some time to learn about the body a little bit, for an example, or maybe different types of fitness. I think the more education that we can give ourselves of what we are able to do and have access to it, I think opens a lot more doors, and can kind of piggy and help stepping stone someone into something that they maybe not liked before but are willing to try again, or something that they never saw themselves doing. I think it's just valuable to take that time to educate yourself a little bit.
Yeah, as you're saying that, it makes me think of also too of people when we might go like too big too soon.
Yeah.
So kind of bring it back to sort of those micro habits where I'm a lot of time talking to people. I'm like, look, it'd be great if we could do something 5 days a week, but we can also do something 1 day a week, and that matters too, and building off of that. So I think sometimes like that time barrier, people don't think it's good enough. It's the same thing where I'm sure like you might tell people, like, even if you're sitting at an office, desk all day long, it's like, can you even like walk for 2 minutes, right? Like up and down a hallway at work. Can you do like 5 squats? I'm always trying to like tell people there is some meaning in that. And then also for someone, I think, as you said, if they're not comfortable maybe out in the public environment, there's a lot of access to information now where you can start things even in the comfort of your own home, in the privacy of your own home. And as you said too, just like leveraging, like maybe trying something you haven't tried before, but also not giving up on something maybe that you did before and maybe you didn't stick with it, because I think there's always the opportunity to come back and revisit that too. So as we're wrapping up, I'd love for you just to kind of leave the audience with maybe like 3 kind of key takeaways that you think might be helpful for the person that maybe I would say is listening to this and they're saying, okay, like I think I want to start and bring physical activity into my life. So I know we covered a lot, but
yeah, no, definitely. I would say 3 things for everyone is 1, try it. There is definitely fitness out there for you, whatever that may be, and whatever it is beneficial to you. And that is the only thing that matters, is taking the time for you to make you the strongest version of yourself. So no matter whatever that is, go for it. And then really, I would say allowing yourself to feel a little vulnerable is okay. The gym is supposed to be, and I hope, and I try to facilitate this into my own life, but it is something that really is just there to help you. Giving yourself a little bit of or allowing yourself some vulnerability in that time is so crucial, because it's something that we just don't allow ourselves to be in society, which it makes a lot of sense. We want to feel guarded, we want to feel protected, we want all of those things, and that's great. But I think that if hopefully you find a spot where you feel like, okay, I can do this, okay, I can try this, be okay being a little vulnerable. No one went to the gym the first day and maxed out the machine. No one ran a mile for the first day and broke the world record. No one started at this point people see. No one sees the steps up to this great thing. So really keeping that in mind, even though that's extremely hard to level with yourself with that, just keep going at your own pace, and eventually you'll feel good about it, and you'll get to see all the different wonderful things that you'll be able to do from it.
I love that. I think that's a wonderful way to end. And one thing I want to tee off from that you had said, I know that you say a lot in the gym, because I've heard this ringing in my ears, is like, remember your why for why you're here and why you're doing that. And I think that stuck with me, because I say that a lot with my patients and my clients when they're looking to make a change. I'm like, what is your why for doing that? And can we explore that? And so that I just want to add, I feel like into those takeaways is really key too, is like, why do we want to be physically active? Why do we want to feel a certain way in our body? And how do we want to show up for ourselves? And I think that's really powerful, because that why is very unique to the individual. So I hear your voice in my brain when things are getting really hard in those workouts. But it helps. It sounds like something really simple, but I feel like when you're kind of up against the wall and things are feeling really hard, it's nice just to have someone give you that reminder and be like, well, why are we trying to do hard things? So just wanted to kind of share that your voice is in my head.
I'm glad.
So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate hearing your story. And I think you shared so many insights I think are going to help a lot of people. So thank you.
I hope so. And thank you so much for having me. I love talking about this stuff. So it's my pleasure.
Wonderful. So thanks so much for spending part of your day with me and with Bryan. And just remember that wellness is built through everyday choices, both big and small. So I'll see you next time on Everyday Wellness with Nurse Bev. The information shared in this episode is for educational purposes only and is not intended as medical advice. Listening to this program does not establish a provider-patient relationship. Always consult a qualified healthcare professional before making any changes to your medications, supplements, diet, exercise routine, or treatment plan. Do you have a topic you would like me to cover, or want to submit a question for the Ask Me Anything episodes? Email nursebevpodcast@gmail.com.